What up, homies? It's your boy. What's my name? We are just about to start the show. Nope. Correction. Slash possible. We are starting the show. Right now, 8:35 a.m. Today is Thursday, March 21st, 2029. What? This episode was filmed 5 or 6, or I don't even know what year it is. So about between 3 to 7 years in the future. Then this episode was not erased when we went back in time. Somehow, the Mandela effect did not wipe out this video. You are watching a future video from 5 years. Is this a bit in the future? If I said ago, then what I said wouldn't have made sense, right? I'm from the future, but I was also from the past. I got to the future from being in the past. You know what I'm saying? Now, if that made sense to you, you watch way too much Back to the Future. Freedom is earned. We'll put it politely. Freedom is earned. Period. Yes. Start the poll. Do you believe freedom is earned? This world, man. There is a dude on YouTube. You'd swear he belongs on the QVC network. Fear-mongering, well, YouTube, which is my people. And I must tell you, YouTubies, I am very disappointed in Saskatchewan. Wow. QVC prepper. You are shameful. His last video I watched, I was pooping and something came across my feed. It stunk really bad. I clicked on it. I thought it was me pooping. It wasn't. It was the feed. That's why it threw me off. My poop and camouflage the stink from his channel, you know. So I go over and I take a look, and man, within 9 seconds, he's saying how Russia has 9 nuclear bombers in the air and they're flying to Ukraine right now. This very minute. I'm like, dude. You're in a tiny little cornhole little space there, and you're just sitting there, in the complete pitch black in Saskatchewan. There's 3 moose in your village, bro. You just have 3 moose, bro. No, bud, no. He's telling us from Saskatchewan how he knows what Russia's up to right now. I'm like, you are such a sad sack. Where does he get his information from? From the BBC, from CNN, and any other news station. It's really sad. If you think, this is what I'm trying to explain to people. I've been doing this since I got here, okay? Maybe not the day of, but I was saying how I didn't like CNN from the beginning, always. And I've not liked CNN since 2000. I had a buddy when I was young. He was much older than me, owned his own house, hard-working man, children, beautiful wife. Everything you've ever wished for, you had, he has it right now. He had it in 2000, a quarter of a century ago. This man has a gorgeous house, everything else you could ever imagine. Listen, and he had rooms on rooms. We'll just leave it there. But you aren't comparable in the slightest. I've seen y'all. None of y'all could compare. And this guy loved his CNN, he loved his Discovery Channel. And I saw through it. I saw through it entirely. I saw the glamorous lights and the big shot, big names of 2 people who are telling you how it is. See, the problem was, in 1999, I ended up grabbing a PC, a computer. So I was a big believer in CMM and Discovery and all these elite European networks, we'll call them. Well, as soon as I hopped on the net, I realized that everything they were saying was, if anything, only a tad bit partially true. And in fact, you could learn and go further and deeper in half an hour than any television show that they had ever broadcasted in 2000 in half an hour on a PC, properly used with a search engine and asking the right questions. This is how I became the man you know as Hash Info today. I always had conversations about oil, politics, this and that, and I was always on a different side because I had the ear and the mouths of people on the net from all over the world. And it was very easy to pick and choose who you would want to listen to due to the fact that you could see around you who was successful and who wasn't, right? So back in the day, there were. I don't want to get too far into this, nor do you have to understand who to trust and who not to trust if people have your back or they don't. Very few people in this world will ever have your back. Very, very few people in this day and age will ever have your back. Having your back means loaning you $10,000 in cash on a drop of the dime. That's having your back. Maybe $20,000 in cash. Having your back is giving somebody a hand for a couple of weeks, and ensuring that whatever problem or thing they had going, you were able to assist them so they no longer have this anxiety and this angst and uncomfortable feeling going through them, right? Very few people in your lifetime will ever aid you to that level. So don't think that this world is full of people that are just genuine, and we live in a world that you decide who you hang with and who you don't. But if you're a pushover or you're just easygoing, I don't really know the term yet. It might be like I think it's a soft person, a pushover. You walk through life being stepped on. Oh, you need to get that up there. Oh, it's the same job I'm going for as you. Yeah, you can use my shoulder. Oh, of course. Ow, ow, it hurts so bad. I'm going to be hurt for about a week or two. I definitely almost lost my regular job because I helped you so much in your ventures to gain the job I was also going for. You stepped all over my shoulders. I had to take 3 days off work. I didn't have pay, So now you see how quickly the world changed on you, right? You went from thinking this was a la-di-da place to a place that you realize you have to actually fight for what you want, right? As in regards to a job and fighting in a non-physical sense, I'm saying. But you have to, literally, you have to fight for your job the same way you have to fight for a parking stall or whatever just to get to the job, right? So you got people in 2000 that loved CNN. They ate up CNN so hard that now we are stuck in this position we are stuck in now. You listen to the people who are billionaires tell you what they wanted you to hear to let you think that it was the way they said it was. Exactly put. Now look at the state of the world. And it does look to me like there is some sort of, maybe, I don't know how this part played out or has been going. I don't have that much inside detail, but I will say this. There is a plot. Once people have been used up, or there is a better person to fill the next gap in the agenda and the void, they will completely decimate the person who they propped up originally to be in the position of power, to get them where they needed to be, where they are right now, this very second, and where they will be in 10 years from now. Remember, all the decisions made today, all the laws that have been turned over and crushed and put down, and all the acts and the emergency acts, everything they did in the last 3 or 4 years, that will impact Canada or whatever country you live in for 20 years further into the future. 20 years minimum. And then the state of if you want to do compounded bad politics, when you compound the effect of bad politics, 20 years, 50 years from now, this country will be unrecognizable. Most of your countries will be unrecognizable because these countries were founded upon, well, not all, but some of the countries around the world were founded on laws that protected the people. Now they have laws that don't protect the people. It protects a corporation, right? So you all have to understand that your choice and what you watched and what you parakeeted has landed us to this point we are in now. Or the lack of your parakeet, or not the parakeeting, the lack of your emotions for the greater good. You have been tampered with, emotionally speaking, in many ways. Whether it was just physical abuse from your family when you were a child, that has impacted you to the state that you're in now. Whether you're mean, abusive, whether you're abusive with your voice, whether you're abusive with the way you treat your family members and how you talk down to them. There's all these things that come and stem from your childhood upbringing, right? Now you can take out the word childhood and add adulthood, not upbringing, life. So your adulthood lifestyle has led you to the place that you are at 20 years from now as an elderly. It's going to decimate you, right? So every day you follow what the European elites want you to do here, you are decimating your elderly future if you're an adult now. You never want to follow and lead the way that they expect you to. You always want to lead yourself and decide with your conscience if this is right or wrong. And when you choose your conscience, you're choosing a path that is far greater than any book, than any single statue of some dude with long hair and a cloak on. Doesn't matter what religion. You're choosing a path of good. Take out the word gods, all this. If you add an O to God, it spells good. So I think there's a lot of misconceptions in the world. And if you want to be a good person, then there is only good in your future, right? If you want to act evil now, you're probably going to have a shitstorm in the future, right? So people who want to talk and spout violence, I can't see you having a good future. If all you do all day is pray for war in Russia and Ukraine and all these places, you're probably going to hell. Probably going to hell. And it's not, I don't believe in any book. I just simply believe in karma. And I do believe in an afterlife or something else, right? It's okay that you don't believe in it or you have these weird book. You've been trained, right? You have been trained since you were very young by your uneducated parents who were complete dumplings. They were an uncooked dumpling that the governments of your nation decided to mold in any shape or form they wanted to, into good or evil. And I have read there are, not projects, but there were things going on all over North America with regard to Kaya and things. It's very, look, I'm going to bring something up that happened to a lady in Montreal that this is shameful and it breaks my heart just to even consider this has happened. It happened. I actually called the university in Montreal and spoke to the head of the department of this, and and I'm not going to go too far into it. I want you to understand who I am. I'm the biggest thing that will ever be in your life that could help change you for off of this track that you are destined to be on. You're like stuck on a railroad set of tracks. The only way off of that is to not think you're a train anymore. Okay? You have to stop because they have you on this one line. You can't even go in reverse. This one direction and nothing else. And they're leading you off the cliff like the marmots or the malamutes on the Disney Channel. So let me see this here. I got to type in Montreal 70s mother-induced coma. Let's see what pops up. There's a lot of keywords I didn't show. Montreal experiments. This is disgusting. The Montreal experiments were a series of experiments initially aimed to treat schizophrenia by changing memories and erasing the patient's thoughts. Okay, I'll read it again. It's despicable what they did. And it never stopped, is what you have to understand. This happened in Canada. They allowed this in Canada from another country. This is the level of grasp they have on this planet. The Montreal experiments were a series of experiments initially aimed to treat schizophrenia by changing memories and erasing the patient's thoughts. What were the secret CIA experiments in Canada? Is just underneath that on Google. Here, I can even show you so we don't have like a problem here. Look at that. Look at that line. So now we're going to click on this. The experiments were conducted at the Allen Memorial Institute of McGill University between 1957 and 1964. 7 fucking years. They used an educational system to run some of the most horrific human experiments, human trials without their permission. I'll go on. Let's read this. Cameron. Oh, no. I have to start over. I want you to understand the severity and this is serious. The experiments were conducted at Allen Memorial University of McGill University. I'm sorry, I'll read it again. I'm a little bit tired. The experiments were conducted at the Allen Memorial Institute of McGill University between 1957 and 1964 by Cameron. I don't know what that means. And funded by the CIA as part of MK Ultra, as part of Project MK Ultra, which lasted until 1973. So which one was it? It started in 1957 and 1964, but which lasted until 1973 and was only revealed to the public in 1975. The patients of this experiment expected positive changes from Cameron's treatments. So, when you're a doctor and someone comes to you and says, hey, I'm not feeling good, and you're like, don't worry, I got you. But you cut their toe off and you're like, how do you feel now? The Toxic Legacy of Canada's CIA Brainwashing Experiments, May 3rd, 2018, by The Guardian. So this is a big time, theguardian.com. In the 1950s and 60s, a Canadian hospital subjected psychiatric patients to electric shocks, drug-induced sleep, and huge doses of LSD. Drug-induced sleep refers to a coma, by the way. So they and they don't like using that term, but I'll get to a woman who spent 30 years of her life in a coma. So here's the old sinister place where all that took place. Look at it. Looks straight out of a horror magazine. Look at that big castle-like building, you know? This is from The Guardian. Toxic Legacy of Canada's CIA Brainwashing. Like, you can't make this up, man. There is nothing scarier than the truth. Sarah Ann Johnson had always known the broad strokes of her maternal grandmother's story. I'm going to hold my hand on my heart as I read this. Sarah Ann Johnson had always known the broad strokes of her maternal grandmother's story. May she rest in peace. In 1956, Velma Orlico checked herself into a renowned, I don't know why they say this, Velma Orlico checked herself into a renowned Canadian psychiatric hospital, the Allen Memorial Institute in Montreal, hoping for help with postpartum depression. She was in and out of the clinic for 3 years, but instead of improving, her condition deteriorated, and her personality underwent jarring changes. More than 2 decades passed before Johnson and her family had an explanation, and it was much stranger than any of them could imagine. In 1977, it emerged that the CIA had been funding experiments in mind control brainwashing at the Institute as part of a North America-wide project known as MK Ultra. As part of a North America-wide project known as MK Ultra. At the time, the U.S. agency was scrambling to deepen its understanding of brainwashing after a handful of Americans captured during the Korean War had publicly praised the communism and denounced the U.S. In 1957, this interest brought the agency north of the border, where a Scottish-born psychiatrist, Ewan Cameron, shame on you. Shame, you brought so much shame to Canada. Ewan Cameron was trying to discover whether doctors could erase a person's mind and instill new patterns of behavior. Orlico was one of several hundred patients, several hundred they're willing to admit, who became unwitting subjects. So she didn't know what was going on. Unwitting subjects of these experiments in Montreal in the late 1950s and 60s. Here's the late, let's let the lady have some peace. It's almost impossible to believe, said her granddaughter, Sarah Ann Johnson, after her grandmother died. The Canadian artist began reading up on the Institute, delving into Orlico's journals and court documents. Some of the things he did to this patient are so horrible and unbelievable that it sounds like stuff of nightmares. Patients were subjected to high voltage electric shock therapy several times a day, forced into drug-induced sleeps that could last months, and injected with mega doses of LSD. That is horrific. That is just horrific. After reducing them to a childlike state, at times stripping them of basic skills such as how to dress themselves or tie their shoes, Cameron would attempt to reprogram them by bombarding them with recorded messages, oh my God, for up to 16 hours at a time. First came negative messages about their inadequacies, oh my God. You know what you do to someone if you speak negatively about them, and he ran negative messages for 16 hours straight into their heads while they were on psychedelics. Like, this is not even a fucking doctor. Like, this guy needs to be in a fucking cage. First came negative messages about their inadequacies, followed by positive ones. In some cases repeated up to 500,000 times. That poor woman. Oh my God. He couldn't get his patients to listen to them enough, so he put speakers in the football helmets and, oh my God, and locked them on their heads. Oh my God. Oh my God. They were going crazy, banging their heads into the walls, so he then figured he could put them in a drug-induced coma and play the tapes as long as he needed. Oh my God. Along with intensive bouts of electroshock therapy, Johnson's grandmother was given injections of LSD on 14 occasions. She said that made her feel like her bones were melting. Aww. She would say, I don't want these, said Johnson, and the doctors and nurses would say to her, you're a bad wife, you're a bad mother. If you wanted to get better, you would do this for your family. Think about your daughter. Oh my God. It's actually too much for me to read. I'm gonna start to cry. But if I don't, then you guys will never understand the true evil that you're up against. If you wanted to get better, you would do this for your family. Think about your daughter. Orlico died when Johnson was 13 years old. May she rest in peace. I love you so much. And the profound imprint it left on her family has influenced Johnson's artwork. I knew even at a very young age that my grandma was not like other grandmas, said Johnson, 41. She had a hair trigger for nerves and anger. If someone bumped into her, or if we were in a restaurant, someone spilled something on her, she would explode. She wouldn't hurt anybody. she would just scream and yell. It would take hours to calm her down. That poor woman. The things they did to her. Johnson was close to her grandmother, often spending afternoons at her home. Ah, while her parents worked. I can't believe the CIA could be so evil. A group of people with a black budget, like an unknown budget that never has to report how much they make or how much they lost. All their money comes from taxes. It's horrifying. It's horrifying to know that there's a group of people out there that treated us, women, mothers, grandmothers, daughters, that bad. And it doesn't just stop with women. I'll tell you right now, there's a lot of people who are reporters from around the world, and it doesn't matter what secret agency it is. If there's a government out there that you're up against, if you are saying the truth and this country's government doesn't want you to know about it, horrible things will come. But where do you draw the line at what you're like? Are you going to be a slave or not? This is the choice you have to make in your life. And it's something that you don't even understand because you're like, oh, I just like literally there's no shackles on me. Try making money and then not paying taxes. Let's say you don't have enough money to make ends meet. So you can't pay your taxes for 3 years because you have no money to pay the taxes. You go to a fucking cage. So remember, not right now, you'll be in a cage if you don't pay up. Okay? And that's a slave. If you don't understand that, you have to go there. And then when you're in the cage, you'll be like, oh, fuck. Sean was right. That's my government name. Sean. But the name I gave to myself is Root, you know? No matter how hard you try, you can't stop me now. I just am so embarrassed for Canada, you know? How could the CIA even be working here? I'm just embarrassed. Canada sold out its citizens. And it's apparent because that happened at a university and it wasn't legal. The operations and the cruel measures deployed on that woman are not legal in Canada. Where is the punishment for the CIA? Where is the punishment for the university and for the psychiatric? All those people need to go to jail. All those people need to have their credentials just smeared, and we have to smear shit on all of their credentials. Where is Ewan Cameron now? You know, how fucking quick can we put him in a cage? But if he was around in 56, the dude's dead, okay? Like, that's 66 years ago, 70 years ago. So, 60, the guy is long gone. But we can see, when did the psychopath Ewan Cameron die? The one that was just completely fucked in the head. Ewan Cameron, the psychopath that tested on the women, when did he die, that piece of shit? This is awesome. They're just totally dissing this guy on Reddit. Oh my god. Oh, was a Scottish-born psychologist who is best known for developing the technique of psychic driving during the course of his career. Particularly during the course of Montreal experiments at the CIA's psychic driving? Are you kidding me? Wow, this is awesome. However, reading into his backstory, I dug up a few particularly horrible tidbits that made me think he'd qualify as a low-level bastard in his own right. Oh my god, you're funny. Notable points in no particular order. Donald believed, as many did in his era, that all psychiatric illnesses were hardwired into the brain and therefore were inherently subject to manipulation and control. To him, everything was innate and based on inborn structures rather than from particular environment. Wow. This guy was dumb. I understand that, and I know it's your environment that changes you. I mean, I'm a grower. The master grower of the internet, period, bar none. Nobody will ever have the skills I have. And I'll tell you straight up, if your environment sucks, it's not gonna kill your plants. It's gonna mutate them. You could have something different come out of the environment. I'll explain quickly. If you have a plant that grew for thousands of years in Africa, and you bring the thing to Winnipeg where it snows in September, and you take 1,000 of those plants, you're going to get some genetic mutations along the way. Period. In Africa, those plants will not turn bright purple down the stalks and up the leaves and everything. 2 days in Winnipeg in September, those plants are jet purple every time. So already we're seeing genetic differences, new types of genetics pushing out of the plants, and those are referred to as, give me a second, they're genetic traits that are they're recessive, but there's another way of putting it. They're very, very hard to pull out. God damn, I can't think of the term. They're very, very rare, and in some instances you can have ancient old genetics come out of these plants. The same thing can come from humans. They're ancient, we have lost our way. If you're a clone or whatever you're cloned from, it came from something that's probably far off or very old, right? This is how the old soul theory it plays a part in this, okay? And I've always explained this as cookies. Computers leave, when you have a bunch of files on a hard drive from 1996 and you just change out your hard drive today, 26 years later, 30 years later, what happens is sorry, I gotta say that a bit different. When you have used a hard drive for 30 years, right? If you bought a hard drive in 1996 till now, what happens is, and then you've erased everything on that hard drive, you can still pull up cookie files from 1996. But the hard drive says there's 0 files stored on here. Do you get what I'm saying? But if you go into the hard drive, you can actually pull out tiny cookie crumbs, tiny bites of information, and you can pull it back and regrow the file. Not all of it, most of it. Now, the same can be said for a genetic trait. You can bring it out and then expand it and grow it out. This is, like I said, you're not on my level, bruh. So just chill. But when you see something, and I'll give you an example. Once you've grown northern for 20 years, and you've seen northern grow short, medium height, fairly tall, very big, very wide, very, very sparse, or just a straight cola. And you've seen it grow under every light, under a little bit of heat, under a lot of heat, under a ton of heat, as well as and these are all indoor, and then you've taken it outside and you've done it each way outside. What happens is if you've grown up with that plant, you now know its genetics. You know how she lives, right? What a mutation is, or a genetic, it's like it's a very rare trait. They're hidden, now it's coming to me. They're hidden traits that are very rare, and they're very old, since the dawn of time itself. Those traits, you can pull them out very few times with different stressors, such as heat, cold, too much water, too much rain, too much snow, different things. You adjust the pH or this or that, too hot. Your pH is too high, your pH is too acidic, too alkaline. The growing medium you're using, maybe you have too much drainage, not enough drainage. In a in a field that has, sphagnum peat moss, or you growing in straight cow shit, or whatever it is. There's all these things. Then you feed too much nitrogen, too much phosphorus, too much this, too much that. Everything you can think of. There's millions of combinations of trials there. These are the ways you pull out ancient, rare genetics. Now, 90% of the time, the best ways to pull out traits are to give the plant what it wants in this aspect. Don't kill it. Don't harm it. And you should have a really awesome, rare genetic trait you could see, right? These are like almost 1 in a million. So if you won the lottery in your life, you may be lucky, and you may also be lucky enough to see a 1 in a million, or 1 in a billion, or 1 in 10 million genetic, an old trait from thousands of years ago. Now, this plant may possess that, while all the rest of your 999 other plants don't. So you keep that as a mother. You grow it out. You love that plant. You then fall in love with it, and you keep it with you forever, right? Then you clone it. Each grow, you clone it. It gets older with you every time you clone it. It's 6 months older. Before you know it, you got a 20-year-old northern clone, or 25 or 27-year-old northern clone, which is probably full of disease and also has built up resiliency as well, but it's probably full of viruses and disease. Now you take that thing and you scrub it, right? Takes you 6 months, a year to scrub it. You're back to normal. So you've got this 27-year-old northern with zero, virus pathways. I don't know. Like, there's terms for this stuff. Like, there's different types of diseases and viruses that can come across your plant, and it's from touch. It's from your hands. It's from the mucus and the saliva on your hands. It's from your breath. It's from the air. It's from lack of light. It's from too much water. All these things. Too much moisture, humidity. All these things. And then, of course, obviously, the dirty air, right? If you have really dirty air for whatever reason, that's bad, right? If there's a lot of fires in your mountaintop range in California, and all the smoke constantly every day, and all the ash goes over your buds, that's bad. This is very bad. So we got burritos in here, and we've got burgers. And this is how we give the wife a really nice meal. So she's got some snacks and burrito, burgers. I wanted to have a burger myself, but let me ask. Who do you chop up half slice? All right, so I love y'all very much. We just got to make sure we stick together, eh? There's lots of people out there, you pit your families against each other because somebody doesn't do this or somebody doesn't do that. It's, you guys got to stop, yo. I hear it all the time. I see it in person. I see it like people tell us about their families and how this is that way and they don't like this or they don't like that. It's, they've done it to you guys, eh? So don't let them get between you and your family. And if they did, then, you know, if your family's too far gone, then your family's too far gone. You need to separate yourself from those who are spouting the evil consistently, right? That's, again, think of it as the guy who put the hockey helmet on the mom and then blasted those tunes while it was locked to her head. You know what I mean? How could somebody even think of something so evil and callous to do to somebody? You know? And they did it in the name of medicine. You know, to me it's shocking that they didn't get the death penalty after they found out what they did to women for probably 10, 15 years straight. 56 to 73. Do the math. 17 years of torture. Horrific torture. And this is why I run the greatest shows in the world, right? We don't sit there and spout how Russians and Ukrainians and Americans and French and this and that. You guys, man, it's 5 or 6 people that run the world and tell you guys what to think every day, right? As soon as you tell them off, your life gets so much better, right? The problem lies with all these secret agencies that do all their bidding for them, right? All of their bidding. I don't know how any of these agencies are even operating. Honestly, if you think about it, how evil was the MK Ultra plan or North American project? How far-reaching was it? And it never ended, guaranteed, right? So they still own all the cable stations, right? Now that the TV stations are done, it makes you wonder how much of the internet they have. What? All of it? Obviously. Well, they don't own my show. And if they do, I might be getting fired and then rehired again because I work for myself. So I fired myself 3 days ago. I hired myself back one. That's how she goes, yo. water -21 degrees Celsius. It is so sunny out there. For a guy from Windsor, -23 or something, -20 is nothing. But don't tell me that. I was freezing when I went to the store without gloves on for an hour and a half one day. Got to rinse off this cat plate and scrub it in a little bit, but get all the cat food off it first. Well, I had the teapot all ready to go. My wife didn't want tea. I guess I'll have it. Yes, y'all. Remember, if y'all are out there and you're not helping, then you're hindering, right? There's only two choices you have in this world. Which one are you? A helper? Or you and Dr.